A world without eyebrows is a world I don't want any part in. Okay guys, so as you can tell, I don't have anything on my eyebrows right now. They are completely bare of product. So I purposely did a dark smoky eye for this tutorial because I wanted to show you guys how much, when you define a brow, how much it can change your look overall. You'll see the difference between when you leave the brow undone and when you actually have it defined and built in. It makes such a difference when framing your face and framing pretty much your whole makeup look, and especially if you do a lot of color on the eye, or you're gonna do like darker colors, smoky, lashes, the whole shebang. Really leaving the brow untouched is nice because it's gonna look a little bit editorial in a way. But for everyday wear, and mostly the average woman is gonna wanna make sure it's all balanced. So when you don't have the brow done, it leaves the look a little bit unbalanced, and it's just not gonna look complete or finished, and you're gonna tell that there's something off about it. So without further ado, I'm gonna zoom in and let's get started on the first brow. Okay, so now that we're zoomed in, I'm just gonna push my hair out of my face, and hopefully I can stay in frame for this. I hope I'm not like slowly crouching down. You guys are just gonna get like a really sweet shot of my forehead. Okay, so basically, as mentioned before, I do use powder. Well, currently I'm using powder. I do like to switch my products every now and then, but right now I've just really been liking the way powder has been working out for me. I used to use it all the time back in the day, and I just kind of revisited that little old habit of mine. So before I do any filling in, I definitely like to take a spoolie, and I actually just brush through my eyebrow hair just to make sure everything's going in the same direction. So like on the tail of the brow, I like to make sure everything's kind of going out and a little bit more downturn. And up here at the front, I kind of make sure everything is going upward. So just a quick note, I've mentioned this before. People ask me all the time where I get my eyebrows waxed, how do I do them, you know, so on. And I've never gotten my eyebrows waxed or done before. I have always tweezed them myself. I don't recommend that maybe for everybody, because over tweezing can occur if you aren't really sure what you're doing. Not to say that I'm a professional at it, but I've always made sure that I don't over tweeze, and I really just like to keep the natural shape of my brow, and I don't really like to mess with it either. Also, if you're like a super perfectionist, tweezing may not be the best option, especially if you have like a lot of eyebrow growth like I do, because you're still gonna have like little fine hairs here and up here. I personally don't mind them because I can't really see them, and like, you know, the bare eye can't see it either. If you zoomed in really close, then you could, but like I said, foundation, concealer, like eyeshadow primer and all that covers those little baby hairs up. I just really try to focus on like the thick hairs. Like right now I kind of have one right here, and like I could just easily go in there and pluck it. And then I do trim my brows as well because they do grow pretty long. But once I've already brushed through my eyebrows, I am going to take my powder, and it's really just an eyeshadow. I showed this in my one of my last videos. The palette I've been using is the Rich Chocolate Eye Palette from Bobbi Brown, and I'm using the shade Rich Chocolate and Cocoa to fill in my brows. So before we do any filling in, I'll probably always go over this every time I do a brow tutorial. You're going to want to find the 3 points of your brow first if you really are unsure about where they are. So to find those 3 points, and I'm going to make kind of deliberate marks here, get your brush or a pencil or whatever, and to find the beginning of the brow, you're going to want to line up the side of your nostril and go up. And if you feel like that is too far in for you, then you can go with the ball of your nose and line in here. And if that's too far out for you, then stick to this side. So for me, I kind of more or less fill them in like about right there. I do like a little bit of an in-between mark. So that's going to be like the beginning of my brow. To find the arch of your brow, if you have a lot of hair growth like I do, you really just want to find like the highest point at which a hair starts to grow. So for me, it's going to be obviously like about right here. That's pretty much where my arch is. And then for the tail of the brow, and this is going to be totally up to you, because more often than not, especially when I'm working on a client, I find that the tail of their brow never really is fully extended as far as like their hair growth. So I always have to extend their tail a little bit. If you're new to filling in your brows, that may be a little bit uncomfortable or strange for you. You may feel like, whoa, my eyebrow looks huge. So if you're a little bit uncomfortable with that, then okay, just kind of stick to where your hair stops to grow. But if you really don't have a tail at all, then I do suggest to find your tail, and you're just really gonna, again, line up with the edge of your nose, take the pencil, line it up with the edge of your eye, and then right here is where I have the end of my tail. And really, I do let my hair grow to that point. So again, if you have a lot of hair growth or dense hair and a natural brow shape like I do, then filling in your brows is going to be pretty easy. It's when you don't have a lot of hair and it's a little bit sparse, you're going to have to kind of really go in there and build the brow. But again, it can be done. It's really not too difficult. It just maybe takes a little bit more time and effort. So as I begin to fill in my brow, I'm going to take the darker color, which is rich chocolate. Let me see if I can show it here. It's going to be this one right here. And I am using a MAC 266 brush. And really what I'm going to do is kind of just start on the bottom part of the brow, and I'm going to make long strokes here. Simple as that. And then I go towards the edge of my arch, and again, just kind of meet that line. Your brow should really end in a point. If it doesn't and it looks a little squared off, that's what our concealer brush is really good for, and you're gonna be able to like clean up and perfect your brow a lot. Also, you want to go with the grain of your hair growth. Don't go against it. That is really going to defeat the whole purpose, and it's going to get really messy. Also, make sure you're working with your brush in the right angle. I'm keeping the pointed tip towards the inside of like my face, the direction. You don't want to go this way because that's going against the grain of the brush. So everything has to kind of flow smoothly. So I'm just going to be filling in the tail. And you can go as dark or heavy as you want. It's really up to you. Brows can be pretty personal, so I don't really like to tell people exactly what to do with their specific brow. I just kind of guide them. And then once you get to this beginning part of your brow, I am still working with a darker color, and I'm actually going to line the bottom very lightly. And I'm actually going to connect it up there to the arch where we had started. I recommend personally to begin at the tail of your brow, at the arch. You can start at the beginning if you want. For me personally, I just find that it's better to work on this side first so you can kind of gauge where you want your arch to be. That makes sense. And still working with the darker color, I am just now going upward and starting to fill in the middle part of my brow. And then when I get to this top part of my brow, I don't have any more extra product on my brush. I'm just using whatever's left because the top part of my brow, I don't want it to be as harsh as the bottom part of my brow. And here I'm just filling that in. And again, no extra product on my brush. Whatever I place down on that bottom line of the base of my brow, I'm actually just pushing this product upward now and really just trying to blend that all in together. So now that I have this part that's a little bit bare, I'm going to start using the lighter shade in this palette to fill in that part of my brow. So just taking a little bit, tap off any excess powder. Now I'm turning my brush, as I was working with it before this way, I'm actually turning it now this way because my eyebrow hair grows upward in this area of my brow, and most people do. So I like to really mimic eyebrow hairs, and I am just ever so slightly flicking the hair up, and almost like if I'm drawing on and mimicking my hair growth. Now here, that's why I did that deliberate mark, so it's a little bit darker, but that's okay. I actually should have marked it with that lighter powder. Oh well. And then just to really make sure you blend out that bottom baseline that we had drawn on before, you kind of just want to push it upward and it should blend out pretty easily. And here I'm just kind of evening the top part. So right here, this is pretty much a filled brow. You can leave it as is if you wanted to, but if you really want to go for like that really nice sharp look, then that's where you're going to bring in your concealer. So I am using my Bobbi Brown concealer in the shade Warm Sand. This actually matches my foundation color. It's this one right here. It has a little bit of pink in it, but that's because I got a little bit of lipstick in it. Don't ask. And I'm taking this concealer brush here that I used earlier to apply the corrector underneath my eyes. Really, any flat brush like this will do the job. So you don't have to be super precise. You can do another angled brush, you can do a squared off brush, it really doesn't matter. But just taking very little concealer, you don't want anything too much. I have about that much on my brush. This is where you can kind of start to perfect your brow if you really want to take the time. On a normal day where I am just gonna like maybe go to work or something and it's not really anything special, I kind of just walk out the door like this, but I still throw on some eyebrow gel. But if I really want to take my time, that's when I bust out the concealer. And I wouldn't suggest to do this with your eyebrow like raised up. Kind of relax your brow and do it with the natural state of your brow. And I'm just going to be running this along the bottom part of my base. And then here again, I do more of a long, confident stroke. Now, this is where you can kind of get creative, and if you wanted to, you can, if you don't want such a pointy arch, like I have a pretty pointed one right now, I can go in there and just kind of smooth it out and round it off a little bit. And now really work with your mirror and turn your head and see how it looks from the side. If you want it a little bit more pointy. Okay, so once your concealer is blended out, this is pretty much what the finished result is after filling in. And as you can tell just by looking here, this side looks so much more complete, so much more defined, so much more framed than opposed to this side. So this just kind of gives you an idea of how your eyebrows can really change the whole look that you're going for, or the whole look of your eye makeup, just your makeup overall in general. Because even without eye makeup, let's say I want to do a really minimalistic eye look, having brows is going to take your look to that next level as opposed to leaving them untouched. So again, this is what the brow looks like finished. Now, I am going to say though, this is actually kind of a little thin for my liking. So I'm actually just going to go in really quick and kind of just thicken it up slightly. Okay, so I did thicken it up a little bit. And this is what the great thing is about brows. I mean, it's really up to you and what you like the best for your brow. For me personally, the way I had it just a minute ago, I felt like my tail was actually too skinny for me. I'm not comfortable with that. For me, I like it to be just a little bit fuller. So I don't know if you can tell, it is a little bit fuller than what I had it before. And I like this to be a little bit more rounded off. I don't like it to be so pointy. That is just me though. And again, you can do whatever you want. Do whatever you feel comfortable with. Don't let somebody tell you that there is a cookie cutter way your brow should be. No, you do what you feel looks best on you and what you're confident in. So the last thing to do for my brows, and I always make sure I do this because I just feel like it really just seals it off, makes it look really complete. This step is more important to me than the concealer part, is going to be placing down some brow gel. So I do like to use two different ones. I have the Benefit Gimme Brow right here in the brunette shade, and I also have my Bobbi Brown Natural Brow Shaper, and this is the shade Mahogany. So whenever I feel like my eyebrow is already pretty dark already and my eye makeup's really dark too, I kind of like to use my Benefit one because I feel like it just softens it up slightly. And then this one is a really good one to have when I do not have time to do powder or anything. I actually can just run this through my brow and it just builds me a brow pretty effortlessly because I already have a lot of hair growth. If you don't have a lot of hair growth and your hair is sparse, I don't suggest to use this by itself, but do use it because this actually helps condition the brow. It has a mixture of oils in it and also certain ingredients that actually helps promote hair growth. So that's a big plus. But for today I'm going to use the Benefit one. Also, this one I like because it's a really tiny brush. Look how cute that is. And honestly, I just kind of take it in the middle part of my brow, run it all the way down to my tail. Don't go too hard on the tail because then you're going to get a bunch of marks everywhere because the brush isn't that thin. And then when I get to the top here, or the beginning, that's when I again flick upward, and this to me is a must. And then there you have it. This is a actually full completed brow. I'm ready to walk out the door with this. Okay, so now my other brow is done, and you guys, for this brow I didn't even use concealer. All I did was powder and the gel, and you guys can kind of tell that It really doesn't make too much of a difference, but if you feel like you're a little bit messy with like your products, it's just a really great way to clean it up. But once you really get used to applying the powder on, and your brush is actually really nice and thin like the MAC 266, it becomes so much easier, and you can just get a really nice defined line without any concealer. Overall, doing my brows this way with the powder, it honestly takes me about maybe 3 minutes to do both brows. Seriously, because like I mentioned before, the whole concealer thing, I don't do that on a regular basis. I just do that when I'm like, I guess I have extra time to kill, or if I really want to be a perfectionist. But honestly, I've strayed away from that concealer trick for myself like a pretty good amount. I do use it pretty often on clients, especially those with sparser brows, and it is more helpful if you do have a sparse brow, because it's kind of hard to get that defined edge if you don't have a natural shape already, and it can just really clean it up and really just make it nice and neat for you. Just a few things I want to go over really quick is that the products that you have to use, if you already have a lot of full hair and you have a really nice defined shape, powder is just really the easiest and most simplest way to go for you. It's fast, it looks the most natural. Not to say you can't use other products like maybe like a wax base like the Anastasia pomade. I've used that before too, but honestly powder is just like really the most common thing to use if you already have a nice full brow shape. Now, if you have sparse hair and you don't have a good shape, or a good shape to work off of, I should say, not to say you don't have a good shape, but I do suggest to use a waxy base and use something like maybe a wax pencil or the pomade. Those are gonna probably be like your best friend. Now, not to say you can't use powder if you don't have a lot of eyebrow hair, because you can. If you're going to use powder and you don't have an eyebrow base or a lot of hair to work off of, then just make sure you use a waxy clear base to begin it. This is NYX Proof It. I've used this before, even on myself. Basically what it is just a clear gel, and you apply it onto the area where you're gonna wanna build your brow shape. And then once it kind of sets in, the powder that you use, whichever eyeshadow, whichever brow powder you want to use, it's actually going to adhere to that wax, and it's going to stay on. And this does claim to be waterproof, so I'm assuming you can go swimming with this and it shouldn't budge. I haven't tried it myself personally, so don't take my word for that, but that's the kind of impression I got, especially when I saw like the display for this. So yes, even if you don't have a lot of eyebrow hair, you can still use powder. Don't be afraid. Just make sure you seal it off with a waxy base first. Other than that, you guys, that's how I do my brows, and that's how I've been doing them lately. So I hope you guys learned something from this, and I just have one quick question. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll know that a week ago, or last week, I was in training with Bobbi Brown for our spring/summer products. And I have all the information of the new products coming up. I have pieces from 3 of the collections, so it's not too much, but it is a little bit of a preview. I just kind of wanted to know what you guys would prefer to see. Would you like for me to do a video talking about all the new products that are coming our way within the next maybe 6 months? Or would you just rather read it on a blog post at kateye.com? I don't mind doing either or, but I'm just really excited, and I really want to share with you guys what to keep your eyes open for, because we're coming out with stuff that has never been done by the line before, and I'm really excited because it's just like so awesome. But let me know down below in the comments, and if you guys like this tutorial, of course, give it a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!